welcome Miss Gaurika Rai. Ma'am is a dynamic leader whose influence extends from the boardroom to the stage. By day, ma'am steers the course of a heritage handloom brand as CEO, while by night, ma'am captivates audiences as a singer and songwriter. Ma'am's journey epitomizes the fusion of tradition and innovation, embodying the essence of a contemporary entrepreneur. At the helm of Warp and Weft, ma'am leads with a vision that transcends generations, preserving Indian textiles while delivering heirloom-worthy pieces for today's women. Her academic prowess, combined with a diverse professional background, showcases a rare blend of expertise and passion. From strategic brand development to fostering key customer relationship, ma'am's leadership has propelled Warp and Weft to new heights. Not only is she a master of business strategy, but ma'am also brings an artistic flair to her role, infusing spontaneity and relatability into the brand. As she continues to champion the legacy of Banarsi craftsmanship, ma'am emerges as a beacon of cultural revitalization, inspiring a new generation of entrepreneurs and artisans alike. Heirloom traditions will be the topic for the discussion, so get ready for an enlightening discussion filled with insights and inspiration. Please give a huge round of applause to ma'am. Thank you.
So, how you
That introduction was so heavy. Oh my God.
But yes, it's absolutely covering everything that you do, and wonderful work. I had a chat with Gaurika, and the brand itself, Warp and Weft, is something which is 26 years old brand.
27
right?
now.
27
this year, yes.
27 this year, okay. So give her a big round of applause. Of course, started by your mom,
yes.
And then she's continuing the tradition. So talking about traditions, and we are talking about history of Indian textile handloom, right? So talking about the tradition, and let's go to the history, and just let's straight dive into the history of Indian handloom textiles, if you could throw light.
You know, it's a bit of a story because this goes back ages, right? So in a handloom textile, they say, originated during the time, you know, the Indus Valley civilization. So it's all the way back.
Wow.
You know, and then there's a lot of, history to it in terms of, you know, what really happened, because it's ages ago.
Right.
And very honestly, to know whether it did come about in the Indus Valley civilization is a little difficult, because the first quality of you know, a handloom textile is that it's always done from pure, and anything that's pure. Because we live in extreme climates of heat and humidity, you know, it does not last ages long. So there is this little bit of a discussion of when really did it come, you know, to fruition. But there is also conversation of the Egyptians preferring Indian cotton to wrap their mummies in. So this is, I'm talking about, you know, years back. And from then, obviously, a textile is very important to our human life. It is what we are clothed in every single day. And it is in, you know, going through the years, cotton was the first most prominent textile in India, and has been for years. And it's only in the Mughal era where the silks and the brocades really came about and became more prominent. And then obviously we had the Britishers come in.
Yes.
And they were not very happy that the Indian textile was so well celebrated throughout the world. And also, unfortunately, our labor is also very beautifully cheap. And so getting it to people all over the world was very easy and at very wonderful rates. And it was in the British time where the whole concept of power loom really came in, because they wanted their own machine-made fabrics to be you know, renowned worldwide, rather than the beautiful Indian handloom textile. And so the livelihood of the artisan from then has been a little bit of a threat, where you know, they do have to fund for their own households. And so where do they really go? So the threat to the craft has been there for years. Till date now, we do have power loom as well. we as a brand that you know, specializes in hand-woven textile, we're not against it. We are for the artisan. Now, whether it helps them run their house till date, we are happy for you to do it, but it is our duty as a brand to make sure that our patrons are well aware that we only work with handloom textiles. And our aim is not just to give the artisan their due, but also to help keep the skill and the craft alive. Because it is a generational skill. It is what you pass on from, you know, you'll have till date great grandfathers passing on this skill to their grandsons who are currently sitting on the loom or finding new ways to make their livelihood better for the loom. So the history of handloom goes back years, but it is actually woven in each of our lives very beautifully. It can be from your mother's one dupatta, you know, that one dupatta that she wore during her wedding, or the wedding sari, or, you know, your grandmother's that favorite bandhani, you know, that she wants you to wear. Matlab, you have to wear it at that one shadi ka puja, you know. So it's actually interwoven in all of our lives. But it's post-independence when Gandhiji started the Swadeshi movement, where he was very active with, you know, everything, using domestic products, is when handloom had, at that point, a bit of a revive. And
it was a very pivotal movement.
Yes, and that also empowered so many artisans to get back to it. So that's a bit of a history of handloom.
That's wonderful. So, means I know there's so much to talk about when it comes to textile. You can just go on and on, but you've beautifully summarized. And one of the very interesting thing that I find about Indian handloom textile is that over the years, through so many cultures and adaptation and people coming in and invasions and, you know, cultures mixing up, we still have maybe a cocktail of versions of it and a modified version of it, but it still sustains. And that sustain, as you said, it's passed down by generations. It's a really amazing thing that these artisans have actually, you know, preserved this art and have passed this down, and people are still really, and people, brands like you and other brands who are bringing it back to life. And there are so many. If you could just name a few of them, some of them that comes to my mind. Yeah, go ahead.
The different
techniques, different weaving styles that are still prevalent.
We will talk about from a design perspective. I think that will have more relatability here. So obviously we have what we specialize in also is Banarasi textiles, but Banarasi is known for its brocades, right? It's silk brocades. So that's one. Then you can go down south to your Kanjivarams, to your Kanchipurams. That's another one again. Then, like I said, the Bandhani, your tie or dye, you know, if you had to give it another easier explanation. Your patolas, right? So these are just a few very relatable examples that if you actually do see and try to think of the perspective of, are these still relevant today? They actually are, because our ancestors have very beautifully made sure to and I keep using the word weave, because I do want that to be a little more prominent. But we, you know, weave that aspect into our lives. For example, when you do think of patola, you think of that front drape, you know, with the beautiful borders and your palla showing. So that's, and it's till date, I have clients who walk into store and they say, no, drape it like this because I want to see that border, and I want to make sure that my pallu looks prominent, just like my mom's did, you know, in her day and age. When you have Banarasi, the beauty, obviously Banarasi brocades are very well known, but the beauty of Banarasi and what exactly I'm wearing today are the color combinations.
That's true.
And very boastfully so, there isn't anything that a weaver in Banaras cannot weave. So you will find patolas and bandhanis coming out of Banaras. They will be woven in various techniques, very similar to a Banarasi woven textile. But Banaras is probably the most, is a place, you can get lost there.
I understand, of course.
You know. And then if we talk about the Kanjivarams, that, you know, that beauty of just looking just shiny, shimmery with the color at the base, you know, and being a part of your, again, the wedding attire. So it's very beautifully done by our ancestors to actually keep it present. And it could be even something that you know, what I like to emphasize on, given that when it comes to the weaving community, it's a very generational community, like I said. You know, you have families in this doing it, and it's beautiful because when you use the word heirloom, that's essentially what it means.
Absolutely.
So when you are you know, purchasing a hand-woven textile, you are inevitably purchasing an heirloom piece, because the story is not just about the design on the textile, but also that one artisan who spent his or now even her time on the loom, creating this wonderful textile for you. So there is a lot more meaning to that one particular piece than just, you know, everything else. It's a concoction of the little things that go into it.
Right. And something that always piqued my interest is that how these little details actually connect to individuals, right?
Yes.
So if you and I and everyone will go to Banaras to buy something which is a, you know, Banarsi fabric, a textile, and we all want to buy it, it's so interesting that each one of us will pick something very truly uniquely to us, right? Because there is something which is, every fabric speaks to a different personality. So on the basis of, I'm sure there's so many clients that you must have seen, right? And they come with a particular mindset and then they pick up something else altogether. And it's how these fabrics speaks out different personality. To talk about, let's start with Banarsi. What does a Banarsi communicate, right? From an image perspective, now I'm diving into it, that what does a Banarsi say from an image perspective? Who you are, what you're doing, what message?
So Banarasi to me is all about the colors. It's all about the colors. It's only in Banaras where you'll see that one pink, you know, woven on a brown sari, and you never think of it. How is this combination possible? But when you see it, you're like, oh God, this makes sense. This is beautiful. This is unique. So Banarasi is all about color. And coming to your own individual self, and from a client perspective as well, there's a lot more that goes into client, just regardless of what piece they pick up. Fortunately, unfortunately, we do live in a very influential world. You know, clients were, like, for example, for someone like me, I don't mind going shopping on my own. I find it a lot faster because I know myself. I know what I like, I know what I want, and I don't really want anybody, including my mother's opinion on it. I'm very happy not having it. But that's not usually the case. You know, you'll have girls and men also coming, men obviously with their wives, but you'll have girls coming in with like their friends, and then you'll have their aunts and their bua who came from the US because she just wanted to be a part of this experience. And each and every person inevitably does have a certain influence. At that point in time. And like I said, we live in a very influential world, which is, I think, the absolute fault of social media. Instagram, you know, seeing that one influencer draping that sari or that lehenga so beautifully in 3 different drapes, I really want that. You know, that's what,
same thing.
I want this look, this. It might not necessarily be that that color might be for you. It might not. You know, or that blouse style, that neckline might not do much for you, or that sleeve length, you know, and you also come with your own set of insecurities. I had a young girl, petite frame, come to my store the other day, and she took a personal appointment with me, and so I love to take everybody through everything when they come, because I feel like it's just a world of possibilities here. So one should know, you know, there is more to just कि मैंने ये picture देखी, Deepika Padukone wore this tissue sari and I love tissue. But do you know that tissue is a very hard textile to manage? It will tear immediately if you put too many pins in it. You can't. You can't drape it also with too many pleats and drapes. So it is my responsibility to let whoever comes in know that, you know, this is the reality of the situation. And you know, I took her around, and she's petite, and to me obviously anyone and everyone that comes in is perfect in their own way. But then she tells me, she's like, you know, I'm really concerned about my arms. And I said, what are you concerned about? She's like, they look so big. And I'm like, what? You're petite, you're thinner than me, you're so beautiful. No, they look so big. So it's in that moment where I'm like, yes, this is where I do come into play, where if even I see that my client is not, you know, is perfect. Is not, but she herself comes with her own set of insecurities. It's my duty to make sure that even if she's buying that particular sari or lehenga, that if this is the area of concern, we do something for her where this, you know, she's not focused here. She's focused on herself.
Something else,
you know, and like you said, everybody does come in with their individuality, and she's not the only one. We have women who come in who know nothing about the world of textiles.
Right.
So we're constantly educating and making sure that, you know, even if you could be the most confused client,
Right.
which there are many,
Right.
and clients take no less than 1.5 hours with you.
Right.
So it is your time and effort that educating them, making sure that you do make them try anything and everything for them to know themselves more is more important to us than please ye khareed ke chale jao.
Right.
You know, or you spend 3 hours kuch to khareedna hai.
Absolutely, yeah.
ठीक है, you
Right.
spend 3 hours, you still are not sure. You still have 3 people around you telling you यहाँ देखते हैं, वहाँ देखते हैं, but इसकी value है कि नहीं, उसकी value है कि नहीं. But my mom wore this. Think about it. We've done our duty, we've done our job, and you can
Right.
always come back to us, and that's more important
Absolutely.
and comforting to them. And you also make repeat clients out of that as well,
Yes.
because once they trust you,
Right.
they will keep coming back to you.
Yes.
So that's very vital.
Yeah, no, those are very good insights actually, Gaurika, because that's something that not only from a product or a design perspective, but I think even when we are consulting our clients, and you know, this is exactly the same approach that as image consultants that we use, where we give them their time, their space, because what you just talked about, image versus influence.
Yeah.
And because we are social animals, right, and we live in a world where we are constantly being out there, putting us out there, and I'm telling also everyone, are you showing up and all of it. So when this is happening, of course, a lot of feedback that you receive, sometimes it's 99% of the time it's the noise. The feedback that you receive kind of plays with your mind, and you start creating you know, your understanding, if it's not solid of your own image, it kind of gets diluted a little bit, and immediately gets diluted with 2 people saying something to you. So that's a very good approach, and I'm glad to hear that from a designer perspective you take this, because I know, of course, means not everyone is like that, but most of the time in stores the approach is like, okay, you are here, buy something. You know,
we'll give you the best
footfall.
discount.
Yes.
आप अभी लोगे, we'll give you 20%.
10%. So
It's not about that.
It's not about that, and that's so nice and so refreshing to hear that even from a store perspective, that's not the priority. The priority is to build that trust, help the client understand, and then move forward. Wonderful. I think I have a last question for you, Gaurika, which is like, if as image consultants we have to go out and we have to look for authentic handloom textile, right? Although we do study about fabrics, we do a study about how to figure it out, but today the machines have actually done such a great work that it becomes, even an expert can get sometimes a little bit like confused that, do I have it right? So what are the things that they can keep in mind? How can they figure out authenticity?
I love this question. This is my most favorite question, and every time someone comes into the store and they're like, but how do we know this is handloom, right? I'm like, chalo, now I will tell you how it's handloom. So obviously the biggest blessing that we have in the government brought into play was the GI certification. That's given to products of particular places around India that are authentically from that place. So it's simple as even like a Darjeeling tea or Assam tea, you know, the Kanjivaram sari, and now even Banarasi fabrics and textiles. So for us, you know, my mother started this business, and she's from Banaras, and she was very clear from the beginning that come what may, regardless of the inflation also in prices that we face, we will not do power loom. We will stick to handloom, and we'll try at our level best to keep the tradition alive. And we, as a brand, have been blessed to get the GI authorization from the government.
Wonderful.
So it's 26 years of hard work and effort. So that is one. But if obviously not everybody has this, the one thing you should look for are the imperfections in that textile. Look for the errors, look for the mistakes. That's human. A machine is not going to make a mistake, right? A machine is not going to galti se cut the design also somewhere because the loom was a little tedha, you know, or the loom was dirty, so there are just stains, you know, on the selvage probably, on the edging of the textile. And a lot of clients do ask, Arey, this is a damaged piece. And I say, no, that's not damaged, that's handloom, I can't do anything. You know, there are even, if not the stains, or if not the cut of the design, you're also looking for you know, like Banarsi, I don't know if you all are familiar with Meenakari. Meenakari is a play of color through the sari. There might be a section of the design where the color has just changed, you know, because somewhere the artisan thought ki main ye try kar leta hu, you know, and you can't say anything to them because it's already woven. So you accept it and say, look, this is some new design, a new creation. Also, when one does necessarily give an order, like let's say you come into the store, you love this sari, it's on my loom, and that's the most important thing, and you want your own color combination for it. We're very happy to do it for you. But when it comes back, it might not necessarily be the colors you asked for, because you know, maybe the dhoop was not enough for the dyeing. Right? The color didn't take the way it did, and that's what you should look for.
Because it's mixing color manually.
The
sunlight.
Especially when it comes to dhoop chow two-tones, right? I can never ever make the same two-tone. Ever. It is just not possible. If you know, anyone does want to come and visit the store, even my shades of baby pink are all going to be different. It's maybe the reds or the blacks, or the jamuni, the Banarasi jamuni might be the same, but it is very hard to replicate what you have seen. And that's handloom for you, where there are mistakes, errors, what I call perfect imperfections. You can be rest assured that this is a handloom piece.
Wow, brilliant. I think our everyone would have a field time looking at those different shades of pink, because that's what we do, right? Try to figure out which pink is this. Okay. Is this the cool, the warm, you know, the seasons and everything else? So I'm pretty sure. Yes. Baby, mera wala pink.
In the tissue sari, though, it looks different. How do I explain to a client that the pickup of a color on each fabric is also going to be different? But then, no, this is what it is now. No, it's not.
Thank you. Brilliant conversation, Gaurika, and I'm sure there's so much more to learn about handloom, but this is a very good insight to everyone. And to understand, as I said, this is something that is very close to our heart. We do this, we work with textile, fabric, colors, and would be a great idea to come and see exactly how this works out. Thank you for being here with us and sharing your time. Give her a big round of applause, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your expertise on handloom traditions with us. Your insights have truly shed light on the rich cultural heritage and importance of preserving these timeless crafts.